is it also a global issue where, that actually contributes to the increase in construction, where you have to pay lots of money to put up a house because most of the materials are not even, sourced locally?
I haven't seen that issue in many places around the world. Generally, in most places, the construction sector is fairly integrated. So all materials are necessarily locally sourced. Because it's just not about a construction site, it's also about the guy who supplies steel, the guys who supply cement. So it's all about that. So I think, as Grace correctly pointed out, it's about using local resources. I have another take on this, that is, see, since most construction projects in Kenya don't go to local Kenyan companies, generally go to outsiders, they tend to bring in their own set of suppliers. If I'm a construction company out of India, I'll have my own set of suppliers whom I have deals with. So typically I'll try to bring them into Kenya or wherever I execute a project. I think that's why we see those tendencies where people come with their own suppliers and local materials are not used. I think the more and more we encourage local Kenyan firms to take up large construction projects, the more we'll see the growth of usage of local materials.
All right, it's time for us now to take a quick break here on Good Morning Kenya. But currently in studio, I am talking to Mithun Kamath, who is the CEO for GEMS Skills Africa, as well as Engineer Grace Onyango, who is the Group Operations Officer at the Construction Credit Trust. And we're just looking at this particular partnership that they have come together, and they're trying to offer an opportunity for young people to be able to get certification to join the construction industry and be recognized as professionals. That way we can be able to improve the construction industry in our country. But for now, we want to take a short break. But when we do return, we will be joined by Honorable John Stol Sakaja. He is the Member of Parliament who was able to attend this particular launch of this particular initiative that is going to revolutionize the construction industry in Kenya and offer an opportunity for those who train locally to also get an opportunity to practice outside the country. So you don't want to miss that aspect of this program here on Good Morning Kenya. So do stay tuned for that shortly after this break. But remember the numbers to text us at 20511, starting with the word GMK, or just send us an email on gmk@kbc.co.ke. See you shortly after this break.
KBC Channel 1, Kenya's watching.
Kwa raha zangu
walimwengu na wajua hamkosi la kusema.
hawakosi hao shutu
Uso wangu uso yakini, mie ajabu sioni.
kwa raha zangu inatia kikomo hapa.
Wanatamani tuachane.
Wapi? Shanshu! Tuacheni tulale.
Na raha tu zile.
One fact in life is that any living thing either dies or gets older. Despite all people being regarded as jewels in most cultures, it is clear that old age and its attendant lifestyle has proved to be a challenge to the society at large. What many younger people ask, probably in preparation for the inevitable, is there a way someone can age successfully? And how can one achieve it? While they tighten their end, there is need to educate the society at large on how to handle this last stage, which faces every person who hopes to see the sun rise again.
KBC Channel 1, Kenya's watching.
If you're just joining us, you are in time for Good Morning Kenya. And today our focus, of course, on the construction industry and how we can be able to get some professionalism into this industry by training those who are in this particular industry to get certification that will allow them to get better opportunities, not just locally, but on the international scene. And for more insight on that, of course, I have been talking to Engineer Grace Onyango, who is the Group Operations Officer for the Construction Credit Trust, as well as Mithun Kamath, who is the CEO for GEMS Skills Africa. But for now, I am now joined by Honorable Johnston Sakaja, who is in the Committee of Finance in Parliament, a nominated Member of Parliament, and also one of the MPs who was involved in this particular launch of this initiative that is going to see a revolutionizing of our construction industry. Remember, you can get to ask the questions. The number is 20511, starting with the word GMK, or you can just send us an email on gmk@kbc.co.ke. But first, let's welcome Mheshimiwa, who is now joining us in studio. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you very much.
All right, I just want us to quickly start it off from, the perspective of, policy and legislation,
Yes.
just to guide our construction industry. Where can you say we are in terms of policies and legislation? Are they sufficient to be able to, sort of make the construction industry professional for the masons, the plumbers, to be able to get to earn a decent income out of it?
Thank you very much for that. First of all, I must say that the launch of this initiative by GEMS and CCT is something that is very exciting for us as legislators, as policymakers, because of the potential it has to create a lot of jobs and opportunities for our young people. I think we know that the construction industry is one of the biggest employers in this country. We have seen many projects happening in the country, but what has been happening is that people come with the know-how, but they go back with the skills. But see, now what we will have is that these skills will be left here, that our young people, even as they work on these projects, will get accreditation and they'll get certification that is of a world-class standard. I think that is something very commendable, and what I'd like to say is that we in government are watching this very keenly. We are part of it. We are really partnering with them in this program, because it's a model that can be used even in different sectors. What I know is that there is the policy, and it was in the Jubilee Manifesto, for us to ensure that our young people are equipped to be able to be marketable, not only locally, but also internationally. And this is one of those programs that indeed will help our young people greatly. Yes.
Why is it that, for a long time we have never thought about, the construction industry as a profession? Because, yes, we have the polytechnics where we are training, in this kind of skills, but we have never given, the kind of certification that will allow them to earn a decent income. Most of them are, in casual laborers.
I think there's been a gradual shift in our mentality as a nation. Gone are the days when we'd think that the only good jobs that people should have is either to be a lawyer or to be a doctor or, to be an engineer. But there are other jobs that people can do because these skills are needed. You find that maybe in a rural place, it is difficult to find somebody who can lay tiles properly. Yeah? And you have to get somebody either from Nairobi or even from outside the country to do it. So it's this shift that is signals even the shift in the policy thinking within government to ensure that these skills actually are available. We saw that previously, even in the last government, that a lot of the vocational institutes, a lot of the polytechnics were being converted into universities. And we're saying we need to stop that. We actually need these hands-on skills that our young people actually need because there are a lot of jobs in that area. And also, we've been saying that the number of jobs that our young people deserve, because our young people really need jobs. Jobs, I think unemployment is the biggest single issue that we need to deal with in this country. But we realize that we are now in a global village. Kenya is more or less the big brother of the countries around it. A lot of the jobs that will provide for our young people are not necessarily in Kenya. Kenya can be actually an exporter, a supplier of jobs. For a long time, we've been known to be a country whose greatest asset is its human resource. There is nothing like the Kenyan work ethic. It is known world over. But let us back that up with accreditation that is of an international skill and standard. Yeah.
All right, Grace, do you think, I mean, this kind of, this initiative rather, what is the kind of impact that is going to have on the industry as compared to what we have currently? What do you project?
Number one, as I said, the quality of whatever it is we produce on our construction sites will be very good. It will be of world class. Number two, it will raise the standards of Kenyans across the nation in terms of socially, economically. And number three, it will enable everybody to think a little bit wider aside from just taking your child for this course or that course or that course. Meanwhile, if you cannot afford to pay for an engineering course, for example, you can start off your young person with modular courses within the construction industry and help people carve out their careers in whatever path that they need to get to, yeah.
Having been in the industry, I mean, can you say that, a lot of women are interested in the construction industry, and, are there any particular incentives maybe you'll be giving in this training program to encourage the, like you say, the young people, the marginalized, and of course also women to be able to access this training?
There are women in the construction industry, but very few. Very, very few. And if they are there, I think some of the ones I've seen are either the ones who are watering the plaster work that has been done or maybe cooking in the construction site. But in the contracting company I worked for, at any given time, we had about 100 casual laborers. And out of the 100, there were only 5 who were women. So you can see the gap that is there. And
do you think that has got, a lot to do with the fact that, when you talk about construction, you just think someone has to be, masculine?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why with the spectrum of 70 skilled trades, then women can go in and choose specifically whatever it is they would really like. I mean, painting, you don't need muscles to be a painter, You don't need muscles to be a plumber, for example, or an electrician, for example. And therefore, we want a lot of women to come in and see what the construction industry has to offer for them, to be able also to get jobs as well. I think 30%, and Mheshimiwa can correct me, of all the jobs that, and whatever projects that are there in the government need to go to the youth and to women. And therefore, this is one of the ways that we are trying to encourage women to come in. Yeah.
All right, Mheshimiwa, I mean, the construction industry, one of the biggest, challenges that we have seen has got a lot to do with the quality of, the kind of people who are out there who are in the construction business. And of course, the other aspect has been, issues about corruption, especially when it comes to winning tenders. I don't know how you will address these particular 2 issues, if at all we are to talk about a structured construction industry, even as we train this youth to get out there.
A few things come to mind. One is the law, the legislation that we have. I have a bill in Parliament, and the initiative by government to ensure that 30% of all procurement goes to young people and women. I have an amendment to the Public Procurement and Disposal Act to clean up those areas, to ensure that our young people actually get preferences and there are certain categories of supply that will only go to young people. Now, how it links up with this program is that many of these young people who get into this program can be able to set up their own companies, and get these tenders because they will be, preferenced, and it will be specific for young people in many respects. even if you get international companies to come do big projects, 40% of the work must be contracted to local contractors and to our young people. So it's an amazing opportunity because, as you know, the government has launched Uwezo Fund. It is now been completed in Parliament. So anytime now, it should be rolled out. So as a young person or as a group of young people, once you come together from a group of 9 to 15, and you're able to register yourselves into a group, you get money. Once you're in this program with CCT and GEMS, you can be able to get the skill, yeah, such that going forward, you can tender for even bigger projects. We are doing a big project of the standard gauge railway, for example. Once we're done with this standard gauge railway, if we apply this model to that standard gauge railway, for example, yeah, when we're doing LAPSET, we do not need a lot of external expertise from outside the country, because our same young people who have done that will be accredited and will be certified to be able to participate even in LAPSET and many other infrastructure projects. So I think there is definitely that linkage between policy. And even going forward, we want to make it very clear, because part of the law is a monitoring and evaluation component, to make sure that even as we're saying 30% of these jobs should go to young people, let us make sure that other people are not using young people just to register businesses.
In fact, that has been the biggest outcry lately.
Yeah, and you see, there's been a lack of a secretariat to actually monitor that. Now we're providing for that secretariat to make sure that unscrupulous businessmen are not just using token, just to put the names of young people in the registration of their businesses for them to tender. I think that definitely cannot be allowed. It will be very, very heavily punished if you're found to be doing that. Give young people and women their due work. Yeah.
But Mheshimiwa, that can all be good, on paper. But if you look at it, I mean, you have seen people complaining about, most of the, tendering construction work has been going to some of these big Chinese companies, and it has got a lot to do with, are these young people, do they have the, they may have the skill, they might have, the numbers and everything, but do they have the, the finance to be able to, say, I'll take up a tender of building a 10-story building? I mean, I've just come straight from school. Yes, you're giving me 30%. I don't have money. How
you see,
is it going to
even
work?
beyond the finance, the biggest issue is a certification. Because it'll be your word saying that I can actually build, I can do this work, but you have no certificate. Many of these young people who've been working even in these construction sites have a lot of skill, but they have no certification, which is the beauty of this program, that on site as you're working and as you're being trained, you end up with real certification. Now, when it comes to the funds, that's why I'm mentioning something like Uwezo, you get upwards of $500,000 to start up, your company. And I know there are very many private banks as well that are willing to fund young people based on the 30% procurement preferences and on the Uwezo Fund. So even to double what the young people will be getting from government, once you have secured the contracts, you'll be able to get more financing from some of these banks. Yeah.
All right, I want us to quickly take some of the questions that are coming in. I think this one would be good for you, Grace. She's saying, good morning, Kenya. I'm Carol from Kapsabet. I'm a plumber by profession. I have been looking for a job for 3 years now. Please advise me what to do next.
Okay. If Carol can give us her details, she can go onto our website, cctkenya.org, and register with us, and then we will be able to see how to best help her and how to best place her, and how to help her get to the level she needs to be at.
But don't you think, it's a bit funny that she's saying she's done plumbing and it's been 3 years, and
3
here
years,
you are
yes.
saying that, the statistics are showing that we don't have plumbers.
Yeah.
Is it that people don't know where to get information, or people how to get employed, or what is happening in, this?
I think, as we had discussed earlier, is the structure of the construction industry. And as Mheshimiwa is saying, the policies are able to clean it out and clean it out good. That way, when you're able to get to a site, for example, like Carol, she probably has the prerequisite certification or skills or papers, whatever she has. And she just needs to be able to apply for a job, probably in a contracting company. And if the contracting company is doing the right things, they should be able to take somebody like her on, and her especially being a woman. Yeah.
I think her situation gives us an example of some of the problems we've been having, where we do not know who has what training where in this country. And
you don't have sort of like a database.
Now I have my second legislative input in Parliament. My second bill is the National Youth Employment Bureau Act. What that will do is this: wherever you are as a young person in this country, if either you have no job or you're looking for a job, you will find a center which is being created by this act. It will be in first reading once we resume in Parliament. You go to the center with your papers to say, look, I have worked for 5 years, I'm jobless. Or I have not worked anywhere, I have this certification, this is my profession. You will find people there, career coaches, who can actually, listen to you, verify your documents, and take your details. All these details go into a national database that will be online. So if you want to tell how many Masons do we have in this country, it will be available online. And we'll know in which counties they actually are. For example, if I'm coming to do a big project in Kwale, and I want to know how many people with a certain qualification exist around Kwale, or with certain experience, we'll be able to find it. And also for young people, there are many young people who maybe do not have a job because they do not have the soft skills. They don't know how to apply for a job. Maybe they don't know how to do their CV. They don't know interview skills. At that center, we expect that they'll be trained. Once they come in there and you can see whatever gap they have, they'll be able to be trained in this. So there are a lot of legislative initiatives that we're putting in to make sure that we can assure our young people that if you get out of school, you will either be able to get a job or to be able to start a business. One of those two things. And I think that is what really will help our young people. So, I mean, because for a long time we've not had a skills audit in this country. We have not been able to know how to match even training with market requirements.
Exactly. They're almost as if they're two parallel things. What you learn in school is not what you get out there.
There are two parallel things. But I want to assure the young people of this country that we are there, we're actually concerned about these issues, and we're doing the best that we can do to make sure that, one, we can be able to match them with the careers that they would like to be in or that they qualify for, and also to ensure that the curriculum and the training in the universities, in the colleges, in these technical institutions are actually what is required in the market. And one of the things, which is why I'm really excited about this program, I was there when they launched it, is that it is very clear there is a big gap with respect to the construction industry. So in as much as we'll be taking the information and putting them on a national database, and we'll be making it mandatory when government wants to do a project, or if somebody comes, the first place that they will look to see the skills that are available in this country is in that national database at the National Employment Bureau Authority. It has worked in many countries. In some countries, they call them job centers. In the UK, it's worked in Australia, and I think it's time we have it in this country.
All right. There is also another one asking, good morning, Kenya. Where are you and how much are trainees paying? Who are you by the company name? I think that one you can be able just to put into perspective when this program is starting, how can they be able to access it, and what are the opportunities?
Okay. Again, they can register with us on www.cctkenya.org. And as the GEMS Skills CEO had indicated earlier, it's about 45 to 60 days so that we can meet every government requirement that is there. But we already started compiling a database, so as soon as the information comes, then we put it in the database. And once the program rolls out, then we'll be able to communicate. Yeah.
All right. I want us to also just look a little bit about the issues about quality and sourcing of local materials. That is also another aspect that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. But from your perspective, do you think in a way we have let the construction industry go ungoverned for a very long time, that it will take us even much longer to be able to streamline it, given the start of this initiative, which is still being done by a private institution as opposed to government run?
I wouldn't say that we've let the construction industry go unchecked. We know that we've had a boom in the property industry since, I think, 2004, thereabout, and it's been steadily growing. If you look at the professional associations, whether it is the Engineers Board, whether it's the Architectural Association, together with the Ministry of, then it was Public Works, now it's Infrastructure, I think they've done quite a bit to make sure that we can streamline, especially when it comes to standards. It is very difficult these days to get, just approvals to put up any, construction in this country without meeting certain standards. I think more definitely can be done. When it comes to materials, we realize that a lot of these materials are not available locally. Many of them are brought in from outside, but we have the Bureau of Standards that has been ensuring that at least they meet a minimum level of, quality, so that we ensure that there's safety. Still, there is, I think, corruption, especially
integrity issues among those.
At where the approvals are being done at the county council and the city councils. That's why we keep seeing once in a while a building collapsing here, a building collapsing where because of unscrupulous traders. I think more needs to be done by the city inspectorate, especially in Nairobi, and the towns where we've seen these things happening. But I want to just to clarify that a lot is being done by government to make sure that certain standards are maintained with respect to even urban planning, to make sure that you cannot put up a certain type of building in this part of a city or a village, because without planning we cannot prepare for how the population will grow in the next 10 years, 20 years to come. And we've seen the risks of that as we stand. We've seen a lot of tragic events happening even. For example, the rail smash at Mtindo the other day. Those are issues to do with urban planning. So I'm urging the authorities that are charged with the responsibility to make sure that certain standards are met and are kept, to ensure that people comply with the standards, because really at the end of the day it's about our safety, it's about convenience, and it's about regard to the environment even as we speak. Yeah.
What about stiffer penalties, particularly for those who ignore all of these things, because sometimes you'll see people go to bid for tenders and they they put this really low price so that they can be able to win the tender, but in essence obviously what they have quoted cannot be able to to meet the required standards to be able to put up that building. Are you reining in on this kind of
I am aware that the Departmental Committee on Transport Infrastructure in the National Assembly is reviewing the laws that currently exist. We realize that many of the laws that are governing the construction industry might be outdated. Many of them are quite old. And you look at the penalties with inflation and how the economy has grown. If you're charging somebody 10,000 shillings for an offense and they're putting up a building worth millions, it really is nothing. So there's been need to review the laws that are governing this industry. I am aware that that committee led by Honorable Commander is actually looking at this legislation. They're looking at different areas to make sure that actually we maintain a certain standard. But for me, what is most important is how we can make sure that young people in this country are part of this industry. That it's no longer an industry of only the rich or the older people, that instead of
people who did fail to get jobs and they feel that that's the only hope.
Only men. That instead of when we give funds to women, instead of trying to become mama boga, they can become mama constructor, and mama contractor rather. And we've been seeing that when we launched the WESO program. I think you saw some of these women who are saying that it was difficult for them to get into the industry, and people still do not believe that they're actually contractors right now, and they're women. And I'd like to encourage women to take it up, even in the counties. Each county government has a certain allocation for roads and for buildings. I want women and young people to actually take a step to go and find out what they can do in that industry, because I assure them this is one industry that really can employ very many people and has very good returns.
All right. You had said that this particular program you're also going to roll it out in the county level. Maybe just give us how exactly it's going to work at that level.
Okay. Well, one of the things we're doing is those who register with us, we are grouping them in counties, and we are encouraging them to participate in the activities of their counties in terms of project development.